So my name's Melissa Walker, and I am a speech pathologist, and I have been doing this career for 28 years.
Wow, congratulations. How did you become interested?
So I started out in undergrad as child and family development major, and I had an internship my final semester with we had to go find where we wanted to do the internship, and I chose an on-campus place that was a speech language clinic, and it was supported by the Masons, and so I had no idea about speech pathology until I had done that internship. And within that semester, that final semester of school, I decided that I wanted to do that. I came from a background of pediatrics and children, and then I moved into a master's degree for that. So pretty much anyone going into a speech pathology career now has to have a master's. You can be like a speech pathology assistant with an undergrad, but to do it independently, you actually have to have your master's. Well, I think it depends on, so within the field of speech pathology, you actually have a number of different avenues that you can go. You can actually work with adults in like rehab type of setting. You can work with geriatrics, which, you know, the elderly and nursing homes, maybe people that have had strokes and that kind of thing. And you can work with pediatrics, which is what I love. And so personality traits, I think, for pediatrics are that you have to be willing to be playful and get on the floor with the kids. You have to be flexible because kids are completely unpredictable, and you may come in with a plan of exactly what you're going to do that day, and the child wants to play something different or is cranky, and so you have to be flexible and patient in that situation. You do have to be organized because you're dealing with a variety of different types of patients, and so you may go from dealing with a kiddo that is autistic to somebody that just needs sound production work. And so you have to kind of be able to be organized enough to know if you're coming in with one set of toys, how you can use that in a variety of different ways with that kid. A typical starting salary, I had to look it up actually because I started this a while ago, and my initial salary was like $48 per year. But now, especially out here in Colorado, the typical starting salary is around $75 for a full-time position, and the range goes up to like $90. So depends on, I'm sure, what kind of setting you're in. You can be in a clinic, you can be in a hospital, you can be in a school. You can do private work, which is what I do. I see kids privately, and I contract with the state. And so it really depends on what setting you're in, how much you're going to make. The schools are going to be a little less funded than like a hospital or a rehab clinic is.
Gotcha.
So that's where the variety with speech pathology is so nice, because I have done a rehab setting, I have worked with a home health setting, I have been in clinics at a hospital, I have been in separate clinics, and then I have been out on my own doing early intervention, and every single environment is different. In a clinic type of setting, at least the type I was in, you were working with a team that had a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and the speech pathologist, and we would all work with the child and work as a team in those settings. Now, it would probably be the same in a hospital setting where you've got, you know, the different kinds of team members that you might have. You know, hospital therapist might also work with like a radiologist that, you know, you're doing some swallowing studies to make sure that the person isn't aspirating. And that's a completely different type of environment than like a clinic with children. That you might also have physical therapists and occupational therapists that you work with, but you're working more independently in that type of setting. Personally, with my setting, this is basically my office that I do paperwork in, but I go into the child's home and I am working one-on-one with those parents to help the child make progress, and the parents are learning strategies to know how to interact with their child to help bring language up. And that adjusts based on what setting you're in. I work part-time, and so my typical day might start off planning and gathering whatever toys that I need to play with those kids that day, and then loading that all in my car and going from house to house and interacting. And I see each patient for an hour. They're little ones, so they're under 3 years old, and their attention span is a little bit shorter. So we might work very focused with the child for about 45 minutes. And then the last portion of the session is working with the parent on talking about the strategies and the follow through that they're going to try that week. And then I get home and I do paperwork for the client. So I might see 4 clients in a row, and then I come home and I spend an hour and a half doing paperwork so that the families each have a session note that they can follow through and work with that day or that week. Well, I'll start with the challenges because that's the part that I guess gets to me the most. Paperwork is a challenge for me. I want to be able to go in and work with that family and, you know, maybe leave them some handouts and then I'm done. But coming home and having to do paperwork sometimes is challenging because it doesn't fit into life. And billing is a huge challenge because of the fact that you're dealing with insurance companies, and you know, I contract with the state, so that actually is pretty straightforward, but I'm also dealing with insurance companies and Medicaid, and that can be the most laborious part of all of it. But benefits completely outweigh all of that. I love working with the kids. You get so much back from them than what you give to them. They're always happy to see you when you show up. I have a lot of flexibility in my job. So if for some reason that day I can't do a session, I can move it to another day. Or, I set up my own schedule the way it works for me. I actually work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Mondays and Fridays I'm off so that it's attached to my weekend if I have something going on with my family or just other additional things to do. If I need to do an evaluation, it gives me a full day to be able to focus on that. And you know, it's fun. I enjoy working with the kids that I work with. It's challenging. Like I said before, you know, I might work with a kid that has autism, and then I might work with a kid that has sound production or a kid that has motor planning problems where you're trying to just even get speech out of them because their brain is not sending the proper messages. So I find that very challenging. I looked at the school setting, but I prefer the early intervention that I do because I'm working one-to-one with the child and I am helping the family. And when you get to see that change and the light and excitement in their face when they know they've communicated something to their mom or something to you, it's just great reward. I would say absolutely, because of the fact that it's very flexible. I have the ability to schedule around, things that are going on in my life. I have the ability to set up from the very beginning, when I start with a patient, and fashion my schedule that works for me. I think really, even if you're in the schools, it works with family life, because if you have kids, your schedule's going to be the same as the kids, and you're going to have your summers off. If you work in a rehab clinic, it might be a little more challenging, or a hospital setting, because you have very specific hours. But even in that setting, there is something called PRN, which is a as needed basis. So you might come in and fill in for somebody that's gone on maternity leave, and you have the ability in that situation to plan around your schedule and offer what hours you can do. It's almost like a substitute situation. But so yes, very, very flexible. I would have told you a year ago that it's the same as it was when I first started 28 years ago. But when COVID hit, we were all kind of forced to be flexible and learn how to change. And teletherapy has been a growing field within most of the therapies that are out there for, I'd say, the last 8 years. And I never would have envisioned myself doing that, but we were kind of forced to learn how to be flexible and how to change. And that was kind of nice, working from home and working with the families. I do prefer hands-on, but I think with COVID hitting and most therapists learning how to do online therapy, it's opening up new doors. If you've got a sick child or bad weather, you can still actually see the family and work with them. So I do think we'll see a lot more of teletherapy in the future, and a lot more people are ready for it now that we've been forced to learn it. So I think that that's kind of how it will change a bit in the future. But the basics of working one-on-one with families, I think pretty much have stayed the same. Other than, when you work with a kid that needs like some kind of augmentative system for communication because they can't develop speech for some reason, there's a lot more availability now of computer systems out there that can help. And I'd say that's another area that's going to grow and change throughout the next couple of years. So I think first and foremost, there are so many areas of speech pathology that if you are interested in looking into that as a career, you need to spend time going and shadowing people doing all the different varieties that there are out there. If you like all of it, then you can do kind of a home health situation, and you're going to end up getting, your geriatric patients and your pediatric patients. But if you like specifics, there are clinics out there that work specifically with just kids with autism that you can go and work, just with kids with autism. I think it's important to go and take a look at all of it. You're exposed to all of it when you get your master's degree, and you take classes for all of it. But you really don't know if you like that kind of setting until you get a chance to go and observe and be a fly on the wall. So that would be, I think, my biggest recommendation is go shadow, because these therapists love, I've had several students come and shadow me and see what it looks like. And I think that's the best way to know if you're going to really enjoy it. And as far as things I didn't expect, I thought I was going to enjoy working with older adults more than I did. I think the joy that I get from seeing a child grow and learn is so much better than, for me, setting up a system that, is just kind of keeping an adult functional versus really seeing a child's potential and being able to help them grow, and running into them at the grocery store and seeing how far they've come. That's like really, really rewarding.